And as we continue tonight, let's welcome in a newcomer to our panel, but a familiar face here on Newsmax TV. Joining us via Skype is our good friend Dick Morris. Dick, of course, the New York Times best-selling author of Armageddon, How Trump Can Beat Hillary. And Dick, first to you, was there anything apocalyptic about tonight's debate or anything earth-shattering or something that may change the polls based on what you saw between the two vice presidential candidates?
I thought that Pence won handily, and I think that he won in a way that really reflected credit on Trump and discredit on Hillary. I thought Kaine seemed supercilious, and Pence seemed earnest. Those would be the two words I'd use. And I think that in the course of that supercilious one-upsmanship, gotcha kind of pettiness, I think that Kaine revealed the weakness of the Hillary campaign, its brittleness, its tinniness, its focus on just name-calling and not much else. And I thought Pence did a really good job of framing it, that you think the...
And it seems we're having some problem with Dick Morris's Skype feed. We'll try to get back to him. We're also going to bring back momentarily Betsy McCoy from Newsmax New York and Michael Patrick Flanagan from Newsmax Washington. And right now we've got your calls at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629 to Franklin, Tennessee for Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey there.
How did you see it tonight?
Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. By the way, love your show and love Newsmax.
Thank you.
I think Governor and hopefully soon to be Vice President Pence did a masterful and nearly flawless job, except when, in my opinion, he took the bait on the right to life issue. My concern is that what he's done is given those on the fence the excuse to reject the Trump-Pence ticket, and I'm curious what you and your panel think.
Well, I will get to Dick Morris for a response in just a second, but here is the way I always viewed it. First of all, I was unashamedly pro-life during my campaigns, but we also found in the aggregate, at least in the polling I had seen, that it was a net positive of 8 percentage points, at least in my district, to be consistently pro-life. It may differ, obviously, in different parts of the country, and of course, on a national ticket, that may be the reason you raise the concern, Brian. But when you have principles you don't want to violate, I don't know so much if it's taking the bait in a debate. Sometimes you just have to say, here is the way I see it. Let's see how Dick Morris saw that particular question about pro-life versus pro-choice.
I think Pence showed a real humanity in that answer. I think that switching it over to partial birth was a good move. But basically, the impact of this debate, I think, was that Pence really looked great and Kaine really looked terrible. If I had to choose one word for Pence, it would be earnest. One word for Kaine, it would be supercilious. And I think that gotcha, pettiness, constantly repeating quotes that are obviously out of context, constantly harping on the tax returns, we got that point already. He showed that there's not much there in the Hillary campaign, whereas Pence, I thought, gave measured, good responses. Looking at those two guys, I would vote for the guy that appointed Pence, not for the woman that appointed Kaine. And I think that really is the point of a vice presidential debate. I thought that Kaine was very articulate in defending Trump, could have done a little more, could have come back earlier about when he said that Trump had business dealings in Russia. He should have come back and talked about the $1 million Putin paid Clinton for speeches in return for the Iranian deal approval. But I think that on the balance, Pence was masterful. And I think he was an attractive person, someone you want to hear more of, someone you're very pleasantly surprised that Donald Trump thought enough of to appoint. Whereas with Kaine, it's just what you would expect Hillary to appoint. Querulous, cantankerous, nitpicking, repetitive, out of context, gotcha politics.
Back to the phones we go at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629 to Wildwood, Florida for Bill. Bill, how did you see tonight's debate?
Thank you for asking, and thank you for your coverage. I thought that the debate was a clear winner for Mike Pence. I'll admittedly say that I'm a big, Reagan conservative, and unabashedly so. But big thing to me, aside from my own internal biases, is the way the two candidates for vice president came off in regards to how they expressed themselves. I seem to recall back in the 1996 vice presidential campaign between Al Gore and Jack Kemp, that one of my friends, also very conservative, talked about Jack Kemp and said, on the policy, he agreed with everything that he had to say. He was fantastic, and God rest his soul, very, very decent, honorable human being. But his voice tended to grate on people, or might not be the best kind of voice in regards to projecting yourself as a future leader of our country. And looking at Tim Kaine tonight, that's how I saw him. He was very grating. He did not make a very good personal connection, whereas Governor Pence came across as compassionate, as a leader, as earnest, and had a real excellent voice and delivery, and that's just the way it struck me.
Yeah, well, it paid off. His radio training, his time on the radio, hosting a talk show statewide in Indiana. And indeed, we were talking earlier, Dick Morris, about this. Even Pence's facial expression, in stark contrast to the Al Gore of 2000, who would vigorously shake his head, disagreeing with George W. Bush in one of the presidential debates. When Pence would shake his head tonight, there would be almost a bemused smile, and as Miranda Kahn pointed out earlier, almost like a thought bubble over his head saying, "There you go again." It was very much of a Reagan-esque performance by Mike Pence.
I thought that Kaine looked a lot like Senator Joseph McCarthy. There was that kind of all-mouth quality to him, of just talking and wild accusations. Even in his physical appearance. I felt that Pence has great eyes. He has great lines around his eyes, and he was very expressive and very warm and very feeling. I thought that he did more off camera than Kaine did on camera. But the important question is not who won the debate, because we're not going to vote for vice president. We're going to vote for president. The important thing is what the debate said about the presidential candidates. And I think the hollowness, the tinniness, the reliance on gotcha slogans, the superficiality, the campaigning by insult, as Pence called it, that characterizes Hillary's campaign really came through. When Pence repeated himself again and again and again on income tax and any number of other issues, he essentially revealed that Hillary has nothing to say. And I thought that Pence did a very good job of saying that, look, if you think we're safer now than we were then, and we're richer now than we were then.
Gotcha, Dick. Appreciate your thoughts. Back with more after this.